I need forgiveness for my sins, but I also need deliverance from the power of sin. The Deliverance is not a prequel to the early 1970s movie Deliverance. There's nobody saying, "You got a purty mouth, boy. Oh, you gonna squeal like a piggy." No. Deliverance is still one of the most horrifying non-horror movies of all time. No, The Deliverance is inspired by true events of LaToya Ammons and her family living in a house in Indiana, somewhere in Indiana. Gary, I'm Gary, look for me, Indiana, or wherever in Indiana. It's not a very big goddamn state. But nevertheless, she's living with her family. There's weird shit going on in this house that they moved into after moving from another house. And oh my goodness, this house could actually be sitting on a portal to hell. That's the description according to IMDb. So yeah, when inspired by true events comes up, yeah, you think of The Conjuring, you think of The Exorcist, you think of other stuff. And you can think of all those movies while you're watching The Deliverance. So yes, this was a Netflix original that also was written and directed by Lee Daniels, who has done Precious, The Paperboy, and other good movies. This also was done by Lee Daniels Entertainment. I'm starting to understand how this movie was made. I don't understand how it was made so bad. This is not going to be a kind review, despite the talent in front and behind the camera that I'll talk about in a bit. Neither of which was featured in the writing. I mean, look, Lee Daniels actually, I need to go back and rewatch Precious, even though there were some cruel moments in that goddamn movie. But you do have Elijah Bynum, who did Magazine Dreams, a movie that may not get released anytime soon, on account of the fact that Jonathan Majors was featured in it. But we have David Coggeshall, and if that is a name that's unfamiliar to you, he did The Family Plan, that wasn't exactly well regarded. He did The Haunting in Connecticut 2, Ghosts of Georgia. For those of you who aren't geography majors, Georgia is not anywhere near Connecticut. I mean, you probably could drive there if you want. Why would you want to drive to either state? Sorry to anybody in Connecticut and Georgia watching this. And he also did Orphan First Kill. So right there, we are pretty much locked into an absolute dog shit time. So you do have Andra Day as Ebony. Now, there's no Ivory. There's nobody living in perfect harmony. She is a mother trying to do the best that she can, raising her kids. She's had a drinking problem. She has personal issues. And she's trying to overcome these personal demons that are manifesting and causing strife among the family. And also, there's the whole portal of hell thing in the house. And basically, the movie tries to have it both fucking ways. It tries to have personal demons manifesting, and that could be playing with her goddamn head, and she could be causing issues with her family, and her family is not able to take care of this stuff because the dad's not necessarily in the picture. He's on deployment. Or it could have just been straight up possession and been straight up goofy. The movie tries to do both. It does neither of them well. There are some gut-bustingly hilarious scenes in this movie, but for all the wrong reasons. This is an hour and 52 punishing minutes. I felt like I was just an hour, just an hour and 52 minutes with about maybe enough material for 80, if we're being perfectly honest. Glenn Close plays Andra's mother, and yeah, Glenn Close. They featured Glenn Close in short shorts at one point. I have nothing against Glenn Close as an actress, and by all means, dress however the hell you want. I don't care. I did not need to see that while watching this movie on Netflix, but whatever. However you get down, fine. Omar Epps is in this. He survived apparently being killed at the beginning of Scream 2. Sorry, spoilers. Movie's been out forever. And Anjanae Ellis Taylor, who was in Origin, a terrific movie that you need to check out. I think it's on Hulu currently. And then you have various children. You have Andre, not Andre the Giant. He's a short kid. You have Nate. You have Monique. That's Mo, apostrophe Neek. I would like to see it. Her. And she's actually good. There's talent here. There's talent. They're just not allowed to do anything good in this. So yeah, basically we find out about the drinking problem that Ebony has. Her strained relationship with her mother, and the fact that her mother wasn't all that good, but her mother has an illness, and her mother has a church, and things are going good, at least as good as they can. Ebony's trying to do the best she can as not a family man, doing the best that she can. No Ricky Steamboat, no Bonnie Steamboat, thankfully. Deep cut for wrestling fans. But then it becomes obvious that weird shit is going on in this house, because this house is steeped in tragedy. And from there, yeah, spoopy shit happens in the most hilarious ways. There is a point about 40 to 45 minutes in, I forget the exact timestamp because I was zoning out during a lot of this, that some of the scenes just blend together where each kid does something. The daughter, the teenage son, the younger son do things, and it's just absolutely ridiculous because it's not horrifying, it's just goofy. Yes, you might find it horrifying if your kids did that, but when it's done with this tone, the fact that this movie is so tonally inconsistent, it tries to have comedy, it doesn't work. It tries to be horrifying on a dramatic, suspense, and spiritual level, and it doesn't work at all. Also, there's this overriding thing where Jesus can save you. This movie's an amalgamation of just complete, messy cliches, and none of it is fleshed out, despite the fact that this movie is so goddamn long, because things just occur and, oh, let's have the kids act all possessed and goofy and scary and everything, and then let's have Ebony being besieged by all this stuff and all this drama, and Monique being her DCS officer, and the fact that Ebony continues to get away with stuff and nobody really does anything, but then they do stuff, but then the spiritual advisor lady shows up about halfway through, and it's so bad. It's so fucking bad. It's like Tyler Perry directed this, and they just slapped Lee Daniels' name on it. Because again, Lee Daniels is a talented director, who I hope will make more good shit in the future. I think they just threw a bunch of money and said, we don't care if you make it good, people will click on this stuff, and they did. And Glenn Close, who is a terrific actress. In Andre Day, I've seen her in a few things. She does have a good screen presence. So there are people that are trying, but the character arcs don't fucking click. None of the horror clicks. There's a point in a basement near the end of the movie that it gets in a violent fight that ends in such hilarious ways, or in such a hilarious way, and has a couple of hilarious moments to the point where I had to pause it for 5 minutes because I was too busy laughing and couldn't pay attention to the goddamn movie, because that's how ridiculous this was. Now, yes, I own all the Conjuring Universe movies. Well, almost, and I will own some of them. I will own the rest in the future. And there are goofy moments in those. And I recognize those are some bad ones, but I kept thinking of parts of The Conjuring thrown into this, and parts of other movies like The Exorcist, and just all this stuff going on. There's a point where one of the kids does a spider walk up the goddamn, wall up towards the ceiling like he's Lionel fucking Richie. What was this? What was this supposed to be? And the explanation for what's going on raises more questions than answers, because then you wonder, this is all the entity has to do? Attack a really, really stupid family that's all fractured? They can't do anything right? It's totally inconsistent. It's not scary. It's not funny in the slightest, except in unintentionally hilarious ways. And there are so many questionable decisions. By halfway through the movie, you're just wanting everybody to goddamn die. The characters, not the actors. I'm sure the actors are all lovely people. Yeah, I'm going to get into spoilers because it's on Netflix. If you want to check it out. It's just terrible acting despite the talent. Terrible direction despite the person behind the camera. Netflix just continues to pump out all this bullshit and suckers like me watch. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, basically, we get creepy music and weird wall paintings, creepy soul music. There's a bat signal and a Basquiat painting. Basquiat, however the hell you say it. I did note that, when they showed some shots of, black church services, I have been at a few services. Different kind of energy, infection. I'm not even religious. This was years and years ago. Infectious energy. They believe it, and they use it right. And it's pretty goddamn intense, and intense in a good way. They have absolute passion for it. So the dad is out of the picture because he's in Iraq. I guess we don't see him. I think this movie should have been sent to Iraq, quite frankly. Ebony basically is not doing very well. She's also covering her mother's medical bills. Her mother finds out about that a little bit later. She's struggling to get by as a hairdresser. Somehow has enough money to continuously move from house to house. It's their third house in 1 year. And for some reason they moved to this house. Now she's having issues with the dad. And she has her own issues, by the way. Her own drinking issues. She's trying to rehab her image. It is what it is. You know, like that's fine. The family drama aspect that they just come with personal demons manifesting in a way for people to get over it, that would have been okay. Or the aforementioned devil possession stuff, but this tries to have it both ways. Ends up being messy. There was a dead cat in the goddamn basement, which explains the flies that we saw within the first few minutes, and also bumps in the night, and also the fact that Andre is acting really, really strange. He says there's a boy in the basement that is talking to him. He lives in a hole in the ground. Or he's talking to him in his closet. His name's Trey. This movie needed to be hit over the head with a tray, a glass tray, preferably one that would have like sliced something. That's a bit mean, but I'm sorry. This movie does not need to be consumed by humanity. Jesus Christ. It's like this movie suffered a lobotomy and then just kept trying to carry itself on. Because halfway through, there's like party scenes. Omar Epps is, for some reason, they totally abandoned this, thank God. Is an orderly at this clinic and for some reason hooks up with Glenn Close. I don't know what. Whatever. I don't care if you want to hook up with somebody older or younger than you. That's fine within reason and consenting adult ages. But god damn it, why was that forced in? But Ebony starts drinking again. This movie made me feel like I should start drinking again. Haven't drank in a number of goddamn years. I mean, barely drank as it was, but I hate how it made me feel. But then she kind of goes nuts. The kids are hiding when the grandmother breaks in, Berta, and Glenn Close, and she notices this slamming into this wall. All this creepy stuff's going on, but maybe it's Ebony just beating her kids. The whole family suddenly ends up possessed. Andre ends up taking a squat shit right in the goddamn school classroom, as opposed to another classroom, and throws his shit at the goddamn teacher. The daughter, Shantae, starts bleeding. Nate starts laughing at a teacher telling a story about AIDS. Like Peter Griffin, getting high and watching goddamn Philadelphia. And then Monique, who's her DCS officer, is checking on her. And we have all this stuff going on that's just endless padding. It just, none of this is any good. It's not any good. There's a point where Nate suddenly is possessed and starts strangling Andre in the goddamn bathtub or whatever. If only Daniel Benoit had... Well, never mind. Let's just move on from that. So, Cynthia, Monique, mentions that she had a kid that died. He got hit by a car. She turned her back for 2 goddamn seconds, and it's hurt her. Also, there's this lady that has been following this family, just hanging outside and everything and looking at them. But she suddenly shows up and she couldn't intervene. She couldn't intervene until God told her to. Because her kids are sick and she is going to help them because she is a divine person through Jesus that tried to save the previous family that was in that house. And she couldn't because the demon just laughed at her. But she can do it this time because she has more faith. What? That doesn't work. That's not how... And whatever. It's fine. Let's just move on to the end. Glenn Close gets killed by the ghost, hilariously. Or possessed. I don't really know, honestly. We see her get killed or attacked, and then we don't see her for a while. So she just disappears. I guess they only had enough to cut her a check for about half the goddamn movie. And Andre is possessed and spider walks along the goddamn thing. Along the goddamn hospital wall. A little bit earlier, he basically says, it's your fault your family's like this, or the son's like this, or that your mother's dead, or... He said something. So much of this dialogue so goddamn terrible. Again, from the writer that did Orphan First Kill. So there you are. I'm going to blame him for it because I don't think he actually knows what the fuck he's doing. So the kids get taken away after being checked out a little bit earlier, for the aforementioned shit, AIDS, laughing, and blood in the choir. And Ebony has to fight back. So the kids are locked in this, or kept in this church area with this lady that is just trying to help out, and she shows up and she is going to take care of all this, except she doesn't. because the deliverance or exorcism ends up going absolutely tits up. Even the devil is laughing at this. Glenn Close suddenly shows back up having fangs. And yeah, the spiritual lady gets killed because she didn't have enough faith. And she didn't believe enough. And then the devil takes over. That's actually the name, Lucifer. I almost said Lucifer. Lucifer actually should have been the name of the demon here because it would have been as much of a mock-up as this movie is. But he takes over Ebony's form, so Ebony and Ebony are fighting. It's not Ebony and Ivory. And hits a choke slam. An actual choke slam in the goddamn basement. It is so fucking badly done. This is CGI you would have seen in the late 90s. That's how bad this was. I had to pause it for 5 minutes because I was laughing my head off. If you've seen the movie, if you're watching up to this point, you know what I'm talking about. But then suddenly, she's full of Jesus after not believing for a while and not believing this and drinking and doing all this stuff. And she's full of Jesus while Shantae is bleeding from her hands and whatever has stigmata. Nate is gnawing off his goddamn arm. And Andre is possessed somewhere, I think, in the hospital. No, he's possessed at home. See, that's how bad this movie is. You forget where the characters are because there really aren't any distinct characters. But she is suddenly able to set the devil body on fire, and that's it. And she has to get her kids back, and she eventually does get her kids back, according to some text. And 6 months later, they're going back to Philadelphia. And the house is bulldozed, but there are some strange occurrences on the lot. Fuck you, The Deliverance. Fuck you. God damn it, this movie is rotten. There are so many movies to choose from for, like, top 20, top 25 worst movies of the year. If this doesn't make it, it is a rough year. This was bad. F. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ricklin. I'll see you soon.